Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you so much to all of you who are joining us today. My name is Sarah Crane. I am the Director of Product Management here at Kuali. And today we're going to be talking about collaboration in curriculum management. Just as a quick introduction, I've been at Kuali for about 4 years now, specifically focused on our curriculum and catalog management products. I come from a background in higher ed and K-12 educational technology and product management, and was formerly a teacher with an organization called Teach for America. So very in-depth history into education, and I've really enjoyed my time working at Kuali and working with institutions and customers and other members of this community. I'm joined by Hannah Martinez. She's a product manager with me on the curriculum and catalog management team. She'll be joining doing this presentation with me, and we'll be doing a little bit of back and forth, so you'll get to hear from her in a minute. As a quick background into Kuali, we're really glad that you're here. A big part of how we operate as an organization is through really rich engagement with our customers and really trying to understand the problems that our customers are looking to solve with the software that we provide. Kuali was born out of a foundation called the Kuali Foundation. We serve over 200 schools today across our various products, everything from financial management to business continuity planning, and then here, of course, in curriculum and catalog management. So in 2004, the Kuali Foundation was created. This was a collaborative effort in higher education to create open source software specific for institutions of higher education. In 2014, Kuali Foundation became the Kuali Company. The Kuali Foundation still exists as a separate entity as well, and the company became an entity in and of itself to provide the solutions that the foundation had designed as sustainable and modular solutions built specifically for higher ed and hosted in the cloud. So that is the company that I work for and that I've been with for a few years now, and where we are at today as a company focused on those solutions specifically for the higher education market. We have, as I mentioned, a suite of products across different elements of the higher education landscape, curriculum and catalog management, all the way, as you see on the right-hand side, to ready in business and continuity planning. Today, our focus will be, though, on curriculum and catalog, and we specifically want to talk through collaboration. So this is our collaboration for the win. So curriculum management is an involved and oftentimes lengthy process that we know each institution has to go through as part of determining and developing what curriculum is going to be offered to students on your campuses or online, as is the case for many of our students these days. Because we know that collaboration is so critical to that process, we've worked recently on integrating additional features into curriculum management to facilitate this collaboration. And we're doing this because we have a few core principles that we believe in that go into the development of curriculum management as a whole. And we want to talk through those quickly before we jump into a demo of the actual software. So first of all, we believe on the curriculum management team that collaboration facilitates improvement. One of the things that we have heard time and time again from our institutional admins, people in the registrar's office, people who operate on curriculum committees and those sorts of things, is really just how difficult it is to collaborate across all of the different people that are involved in the development and the approval and eventual publication of the curriculum for their campuses. Without that collaboration, the ability to improve the process that you're using to get to that endpoint of having that catalog that's facing students and advisors and others for students to be able to look at and to choose what they enroll in, it can be a pretty hairy process to rifle through. I had a previous colleague who used to call a lot of how this was handled the sneaker net, where you would have people literally walking papers back and forth across campus to try to get the things done that they needed to as part of creating a new course or creating a new program or updating curriculum that already existed. So a big part of curriculum management is in maintaining and creating that ability to use a system that creates much more efficiency in that regard. But a layer on top of that we feel like is really important is being able to facilitate the collaboration. And so not just focusing on the actual logistical efficiency, but in the collaboration around those logistical things that have to happen as you are creating this curriculum. So we believe that that collaboration facilitates an improvement of that process. When you have easy tools that allow you to interact with all of the stakeholders on your campus or your distributed team members, you're able to actually analyze that process in a way that can help you improve it overall. Without that collaboration, it's just a lot of vacuum scenarios and silos where people aren't really able to be in the same room, so to speak, and be able to help contribute to how you might improve those processes. Secondly, we believe that collaboration improves the actual outcome. So it's really critical when you're looking at a curriculum management tool to look at a tool that really does help with that efficiency and accuracy, as we've been talking about, for the curriculum development and approval and then publication process. But that is only going to get you so far. It's incredibly valuable and it's really critical to whatever tool that your institution uses. But you need that additional layer to really improve the outcomes associated with those processes. So as you are creating additional efficiencies, you're finding areas that may have been inaccurate before that you're rectifying, you're now presented with an opportunity to take one step further to actually improve the decisions that are coming out of this curriculum development and approval and publication process. And we believe that the best way to do that is to collaborate. Collaborating about the decisions that are being made for how this curriculum is going to be structured really helps an institution take a look at the courses that they're offering, the programs that they're using, the learning outcomes that they are assessing across all of the curriculum that they're providing, to instead of just be focusing on meeting a catalog publication deadline, to be making sure that the quality of the content that's going into that catalog and then will get into the hands of students and affect their things like time to graduation and the quality of the curriculum that comes out of a student's enrollment in a program, for example, is really the best level of quality that you can provide as an institution. But again, without the really rich and robust tools that allow you to collaborate on those decisions as they're being made, we're going back to a situation where we're relying on that sneaker net, so to speak, where emails, meetings, phone calls, pieces of paper, passed around different hands is really what you're relying on to make sure that the curriculum that's coming out of your process is optimized for what your institution needs. Now, I want to just talk through a little bit of an example of this. So as we were working on the functionality that my colleague Hannah is going to show you, we did a lot of in-depth research with various institutions that use curriculum management today. And we spoke with one institution in particular. They have both a really rich online presence as far as their curriculum is concerned, but they also have the campus component as well, which leads to a lot of dependencies that exist between different departments and between different stakeholders within their institution. So they had a scenario where they had courses that had different departments that were relying on those courses as part of the programs that they offer. So things like cross listings or alias scenarios, for example. Now, curriculum management has a lot of robust tools already to show those connections. So when a proposer is going into the tool to make an adjustment to a course, they're able to see in a really upfront and user-friendly way any of the departments that are potentially going to be affected by the proposed changes that they're making to that course. But what they found is they needed an additional way to act on that information. So I know now that this is a course that other departments will be affected potentially significantly by the changes that I'm making, but I need something within the application to help me actually kick off that collaboration. And I need this in the proposal stage when the proposer is actually going through the proposal for the course changes and may need some input from these departments, or want to just give them a heads up for what's being proposed so that the programs can be adjusted or whatever additional tasks need to be handled because of these changes. But then they also needed that kind of collaboration once the proposal was in the approval process as well. So how do we facilitate this back and forth communication that allows something like a course that affects people who typically don't necessarily talk to each other? They don't have a day-to-day reason to have that kind of collaboration and communication. How do we facilitate that so that we aren't relying on the proposer sending an email or scheduling a meeting or picking up the phone and calling someone, which, as we know, a lot of us are very busy and a lot of our customers are very busy. And so things like emails and meetings and phone calls are really easy to slip through the cracks if the system that you're using doesn't provide you with an easy way to take action on those dependencies that you're seeing right away. So we worked with this institution, went through designs for how we wanted to facilitate this kind of collaboration. We worked with other institutions that are our current customers today as well to get their feedback on the kind of scenarios that they're looking to really use collaboration to support and, again, to improve the outcome of. And that's how we came up with what Hannah's going to show you today. We really, as I mentioned, believe in collaboration as critical to what a curriculum management tool should be providing to an institution. So Hannah is going to transition over and show you what this exact type of scenario would look like within curriculum management when you have something like a dependent department, and how you could use this tool to collaborate to make sure that those outcomes match what you need.
Great. Yeah, thanks, Sarah. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and show you all. This is our application for, some of you may have seen it, some of you may have not, but this is our curriculum management application. And what we have here is essentially our dashboard that shows all of the proposals that are relevant to me as the proposer. So this is a group of proposals that I've been working on. Some of them are in draft state, some of them are in the actual workflow process. And this proposal right here, I've been working on. And like Sarah mentioned, I may need information from another department, or I need to get their buy-in or their feedback on this particular proposal. So as I'm working on this proposal, I can go ahead over here and I can look at this comment section, and I can go ahead and select that in order to request comments or request feedback or a buy-in from another department. As you can see, I've already started one conversation, and this is a conversation with some of the other people in my department who are helping me work on this proposal. So we can go back and forth and have a conversation about what needs to be done on this particular proposal. I can also go ahead and select this icon right here and request feedback or buy-in from one of the other departments like Sarah mentioned. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to search through some of the users in the system and select a user here, and I'm going to leave them a comment. So now I can go ahead and leave this comment, and this is going to send an email to Hannah to let her know that she needs to come in and review the proposal with her department and provide any feedback before we submit it to the workflow. The next thing you can see here is this little checkbox that says grant edit access. So what this allows me to do is either give this user edit access to my proposal so they can come in and actually make changes to my proposal, or I can keep edit access for myself if I just want them to provide feedback through their comments. So I'm going to go ahead and not grant them edit access, but I'm just going to send them a comment. So like I mentioned, once I do that, that's going to send a message directly to their email, so they can have that in the system that they use to track all of their conversations. But as we all know, with email, it can get very complicated. There's a lot going on sometimes. So it's nice for them to be able to come in here and see this conversation directly and respond back to me directly on the proposal. What this also does is for admins down the line, maybe actually in the proposal, if they need to know that this feedback was given, that I reached out to this person to get their feedback and whatever feedback they provided, they need to know that that happened. They don't need to go ask me to go track down the email conversation where this actually happened. They can just go ahead and look at the proposal and see the conversations that happen. And that saves them some time when they're in that process of trying to make sure that everything went to the appropriate people. So when this user comes in, they can go ahead and reply to this conversation, and we can have that back and forth conversation there. I can also go back to this screen here, and you can see that it's going to show me all of my conversations. So any user that comes into the system who wants to look at these conversations, they can go ahead and read through and see what's going on for a particular proposal. And that really allows for that transparency and understanding when you're going through a complicated workflow cycle. And there's a lot going on that you can see those things and have that context right away. So I'm going to go ahead and show you what a comment from another user would look like in my email. So if I go ahead and click over here, you can see I got an email from this user letting me know that there's a comment on this proposal and that I need to go ahead and take a look. So we're going to look at one more scenario. Like Sarah mentioned, this is happening in the draft process, but also when the proposal is under review in the workflow. So there's lots of scenarios for this. One of them that Sarah mentioned of, there's people who need to get buy-in. We need to make sure that everything's okay at each step in the workflow. Another scenario might be a situation where an approver in the workflow needs to have somebody else fill in some information. So maybe there's someone in a dependent department who has a particular code or particular information that they need to make sure they go in and fill in for that user. So that's the scenario we're going to be looking at now, where an approver has requested that I go in and leave a comment and make edits on a proposal. So I can go ahead and see what the comment was, and also that edit access was granted to me. So right away, I can go right into the proposal and leave the changes that I need to make. So I'm going to go ahead and click View Course, and it's going to take me directly into that proposal. I can expand this, and I can see exactly where the proposal is in the workflow to make sure I have that context. Now, if I look over here on the right-hand side, you see that comments button like before, but now it has the total number of comments for this particular proposal, as well as this green indicator to let me know that there's new comments that I need to go ahead and take a look at. So I'm going to select that there. Here you can see that there's multiple conversations going on, multiple conversations that I'm involved in for this particular proposal. And I could go ahead and look at each of those conversations, but I'm just going to look at this top one here. So this is a request for me to make some changes to the learning outcomes as they relate to my dependent department. I need to make sure that the learning outcomes link to the learning outcomes in my program. But maybe there's a situation where I'm not actually the person who needs to leave those comments. They got the wrong person somehow when leaving this comment. So I can go ahead and select add someone to the conversation, and I can add an additional user. So I'm going to go ahead and add Danny. And let her know that she needs to come in and make a change as well. So now Danny's going to get an email letting her know that she needs to come in and make that appropriate link. And so she can click into the proposal as well, like I showed before, and she can see what the conversation has been so far. And so she has that context to really know what she needs to go in and do. I can again go back and look at the conversation and see now that I've actually looked at that proposal, I looked at that conversation, that green indicator is gone to let me know that I've done everything I need to do. So this is a really important part of our application, and we believe it's a really important part of the workflow process you have that workflow process with the formal approval steps and exactly where the proposal needs to go. But what this allows you to do is account for all those situations that you may not have thought of when you're actually building out that workflow process. There's a lot of things that need to happen, a lot of one-on-one conversations, a lot of group conversations, especially when you're in a remote environment, that need to be happening when you're proposing new curriculum. And if that process gets really long and gets really complicated, it can be hard to have those conversations quickly. It can be hard to get a hold of people. It can be hard to track down those conversations and make sure that they're happening. But when you put them in the application like this and you attach them to the actual proposals, this really allows people to track those conversations and make sure they're happening when they need to be happening. Another really important thing that this allows you to do is track that history. So say this proposal gets all the way through the workflow, it becomes approved, it's been approved, and somebody has a question about how these changes came to be. How did we decide that these changes were okay? Did everybody have buy-in on these changes and make sure that they were appropriate? You can go into the proposal, you can view the original proposal, and you can track that entire conversation. And that really allows you to, as an administrator, it allows you to make sure that you have that history and that you can communicate that and have transparency across your institution. But then also when you're actually making those comments and having those conversations, that you can make sure you can easily get a hold of those people that need to be involved. So that's just a quick overview of this new feature that we've recently released. Sarah, I'm gonna kick it back to you to kind of close it out.
Okay, thank you, Hannah. Any questions or anything that we can help answer before we wrap up? If you have them, you can just go ahead and stick it in the Q&A box or in the chat, either one. And we'll give you just a minute to do that. And Hannah, if you wouldn't mind just reading out those questions for us so everyone in the group can hear.
Sure. So the first question is from Melanie Trowbridge. She says, it looks like there were canned responses as an option. Is that correct? Oh, go ahead, Sarah.
No, you can go for it.
I was going to say, so the email that that sends the comments, the actual email that says, hey, a comment has been left for you by this particular person, that's going to be automatically generated from the system. However, whatever comment was left for a particular user will be included in that email. So it will be customized in that sense, where they're going to be getting the information that's relevant to them.
Yeah, so when you go to actually leave a comment on a proposal, the comment itself won't be canned. You'll have to type in the comment that you want to leave, and then that will be included in the notification that is automatically generated.
Yeah, thanks. Okay, so there's another question, Terry Otta. Will this only work with the Workflow 2.0, or is this just the ability to allow, or is it just the ability to allow edit access? So for everybody, for those who are not aware, we've recently updated our workflow tool. And if you need more information about that, please let us know. We would be happy to provide that. This new functionality, the commenting functionality, is available for all the workflows that we have available. The grant edit access functionality is only available in the new updated workflow.
And for those of you who are not currently customers, if you were to become a customer of curriculum management, you would automatically have this ability because your instances would be set up with our upgraded engine.
Yeah, thanks. It looks like those are the only questions for now.
Great. Well, and feel free to reach out to us as well. If you think of any questions, I'll show you the email address here at the end. Just wanted to do a quick reminder. We do have our annual user conference, Kuwali Days, beginning actually next week for the curriculum and catalog management track. So you'll have the opportunity to hear more about curriculum management and catalog management as tools. Hannah and myself will be there as well as many of our colleagues talking about tips and tricks, best practices, and then we will also have customer sessions as well. So you can see how our current customers are using the tool today to solve problems on their campuses. And so feel free to go to www.kowali.co for more information and registration. Just want to put this up here as well. There's that website that I just mentioned and an email address as well. Feel free to reach out and connect with us if you have any questions. You're welcome to contact me directly or Hannah directly. It's just sarah.crane@kowali.co. Or you can respond to any of these emails that you've been getting from us, and we're happy to connect with you there as well. Thanks again so much for joining us, and we hope that you've learned a lot today, and let us know if you have any feedback or questions. We're always around. So have a good rest of your day.